Welcome to Black, Red, and Blue. I'm AJ, and joined with me, as always, is Steve. I think we need to kind of start off with this week talking about the elephant in the room, which is the Leagues Cup and Open Cup. Now, unfortunately, there's been a lot of press about this. If you listen to other podcasts, everybody's been talking about this. But I feel like it is important for us to at least mention this. As everybody knows, there's the conflict with the Open Cup versus the Leagues Cup. Essentially, how fans have recognized this as the Leagues Cup being a sort of a cash grab for the MLS. Steve's actually going to talk a little bit about the Open Cup, its history, briefly, just in case there's fans listening that just don't know about this, because there's been a lot of noise about this, but there's not a lot of backstory with this. Steve, you want to teach us some of your wisdom?
All right. Oh, okay. All right. So
3 things.
Hi, I'm Steve.
Hey.
It's been a while. So,
by the way, I should mention for people who are watching us on YouTube, he's basically doing a Thor impersonation right now with his little headband. And I guess Betcher also wears headband too, but not quite the same.
Right. I did post a poll who's wearing it better, Betcher or Thor, and people think that Betcher is wearing it better because he's new. All right. So we got the U.S. Open Cup and you got this Leagues Cup. And what I want to do, and then we may show this, but basically the U.S. Soccer Federation you have to think of like a pyramid where they've got tiers of leagues. And at the top is the U.S. national team. Then right underneath that, you have the MLS. Then you have the USL Plus. Then you have USL. Then you have MLS Next Pro. You got the NSPL, the NPSL, which Belleville just got a team, and there's a team in St. Louis, which is really cool. Then you've got a series of tier ones under there. So basically, to be a part of the U.S. Soccer Federation, you have to agree to play in one of their cups, series of their cups, and there's a bunch of them. Like, there's a bunch of cups, and AJ can talk real quick about, after I'm finished, about some European decisions about all the cups that they have, which it's hard to keep track of all their cups, but like what we have in the U.S. is just as busy. So the U.S. Open Cup is a knockout round type competition that takes place across the country, and you essentially have anyone that can put together a team can enter into this U.S. Open Cup. And it's really wild because you can have teams that play on dirt football fields playing against MLS teams. And we get this term called a cup set, where you could have USL teams that are beating MLS teams, which happens regularly. Now, I don't believe the MLS has ever lost to a USL team for the championship, but still, you've got these pretty wild competitions where it's almost like, I compare it to the NCAA basketball tournament, where you can have a 16 upset a 1 occasionally. So that happened. A handful of years ago, the MLS wanted to expand their reach, and they entered into an agreement with the League MX, where all 47 teams in the MLS and the League MX pause in the middle of the summer, which is what we're doing, and they play an interleague competition. And this is bringing in a lot of money for the MLS. And this past year, the MLS decided that they just weren't going to compete in the U.S. Open Cup. It's just too many games for their players. And they did so in a very harsh way. I think we can all agree that how the MLS handled it was almost like a Dear John letter, where they just like reached out and like, hey, U.S. Soccer Federation, we're out. And I saw some commentary that like U.S. Soccer Federation is really weak a lot of times, and they don't throw their weight around enough. And this is one time they did, where they said, no, you want to be a part of our federation, you want to be actually acknowledged, you will participate in this. And there were some negotiations, and the MLS essentially agreed to halfsies. Some of the teams that weren't in the CONCACAF competitions were able to participate. Some of the teams that weren't participating could bring their 2 teams in, and then some teams were just not involved at all. And St. Louis is one of those teams that didn't even have an option. And unfortunately, that has caused some controversy. Everyone should be aware of that. I'm sure if you're listening to this, it means you're online, which means you've seen some of the anger and some of the consternation about that. But I just wanted to give a quick, dirty, I guess it's probably like a 2-minute kind of review of what the U.S. Open Cup is and what the Leagues Cup is. And the fact that the reason why we're having this controversy is because the Open Cup does conflict with the Leagues Cup scheduling in this break, because the Leagues Cup actually, or Open Cup, takes place starting in like April. Like those games start early. They take the entire summer. There's weeks in between them. But, there is this conflict in the middle of the season now where the MLS is wanting to decide certain things. So I don't think this is anywhere near settled. It's nowhere near settled. We're probably going to see, and it's going to be frustrating for a couple of seasons. I'm willing to bet over the next 2, if not 4 seasons, we're going to see a different format for how the Open Cup is used with the MLS teams. I don't think it's going to be settled anytime soon. But I also know that this Leagues Cup is not going away. It will not go away. I think since we don't have Open Cup games, we don't need to discuss the Open Cup because we're not involved in that. But we can discuss the Leagues Cup matches. So, real quick, AJ, can you discuss, real quick, what you found about the Euro leagues and all of their cups and some court cases that were resolved during this past year?
Yeah, so the really short story is due to a court case over in Europe regarding the Super League and basically overreach of national federations and FIFA, stuff like that. Basically, this gave the MLS confidence to basically pull out of the Open Cup and say, hey, you guys can't control us, at least not completely. We're going to do this and you guys can just deal with it. And then the problem is the U.S. Soccer Federation basically had to decide, do we attack our top tier league or do we just kind of let them do what they need to do? Because in part, the Soccer Federation wants MLS to do well, which means bringing in money, being financially healthy, continuing to grow. But at the same time, they don't want to lose their own relevance as well. So that's basically the big thing here. And the one thing that I think, Steve and I will say, though, is that in general, whatever you decide, whether you want to support the Leagues Cup or not, it's basically individual decision. As long as you're not infringing on somebody, we support you, whatever you decide. Yeah. I think what Steve and I have decided is that we did indeed watch these games because especially the new players, we want to see what these guys are doing. And I think we are probably chomping at the bit to talk about these guys because there's been so much change lately. Would you agree, Steve? We have
my gosh.
Parker going adios. We have Kessler coming in. We have Horn, Betcher, Seti, Hartel, JGR coming in. We have the Bloom controversy. Holy crap. This team is almost a completely different team. This was a massive overhaul. I mean, I think probably the biggest shock here was probably Parker leaving to go to New England for this Kessler trade. And it just talking about that, how shocked were you when you first saw this on Twitter or X or whatever it's called?
Yeah. We saw the tweets come through, the announcements come through, and it was all of a sudden it just happened. And out of the blue, and it was almost disbelief. When you think of the image of the team, the first thing you think of after Berkey is Parker. Is Parker pumping his fist? In fact, when I send out the fan polls, the picture that I used for the defense was that picture of Parker pumping his fist. And it does seem like he is what we think of the team. He's the first image we see. So it was a shock. And then you look at the player we're getting, that it really worked out well. I think us being in this position, I understood that he definitely wasn't going to come back next year. Mm-hmm. If we know he's not coming back, we know that we're not going to get anything out of it, then we have to make the best deal. And it looked like Lutz made the best deal he could.
Yeah.
We're getting a young defender. We're getting someone that, and you showed me some stats that they're pretty much the same player, but Kessler is much younger. So my initial reaction was, holy crap, because it was big news. I definitely wasn't really sad to see a player go because they're just players, but I understood some of the consternation I saw online on Facebook and Twitter, I'm sure Reddit as well. So what was your initial reaction when you got when you and I were sharing those reports back and forth?
Yeah. So a pyramid, right? So on the top of this pyramid is our team, St. Louis City. The players, as much as you love them, are the next tier down. So the thing is that ultimately what I want to see is the team win. If you trade my favorite player, now, hopefully this doesn't happen, but if you get rid of, like, let's say Berkey, but it makes the team better, I'm a little sad, but at the same time, I'm like, whatever it takes to make this team better. Honestly, we've watched every game this year, and some of these games were quite painful to watch. So if it takes getting rid of a fan favorite, so be it. That's just what it's going to be honest.
Right.
And like you said, New England's not doing so great. They needed to do something as well. Kessler, I think, with options, have like 4 or 5 year control. Parker's 30, 31, something like that, which for a soccer player, now in baseball, we're used to 30, 31-year-olds, but for a soccer player, that's starting to get old.
Yeah, it was hamstrings.
Yeah. So center backs tend to be older anyways when they start to get good, but that's still 30, 31 is starting to get older. And I think Kessler, I think he's 26 or 20.
He's 26. Yeah, he's 26.
So if you think you have, 4 or 5 years of control, that's amazing. That's a great deal. Now, what did New England get out of this? Well, they're trying to do an overhaul as well. So they got rid of a player who had a long-term contract, and they got a player who has basically the rest of this year. So they basically got rid of that salary, and then they got some GAM from us, general allocation money. So it's a win-win here. And I'm looking at this, at least on SofaScore, these guys are rated pretty much about the same. I'm okay with this. I think if that's what needed to happen. Now, that being said, you could definitely tell in these past few games, Parker was missing. The defense, as you kept texting me over and over again in this latest game with Portland, you're like, oh, defense is porous again. Defense is porous.
Yeah.
Now, we couldn't have Kessler out there. So a lot of people are like, well, why wasn't Kessler out there? Well, he appeared for New England in the first game of the League's Cup. So he can only appear for the rest of this tournament with New England.
Yep.
So since he's on our team, he's not going to appear for either. Same thing with Parker.
Yeah. And I think that the fact that both of those players played in the first round of the League's Cup lets you know just how quickly this trade happened. Because if there was an idea that these players are going to be traded before the League's Cup, there's no way the teams would have allowed either of them to play in that first game, because then they're out for the rest of the Cup. So, like, that's how quickly it happened. So I think if fans are worried that, they knew all along they're going to trade them, I don't think so. I don't think they did. I think it just came together quickly. And, like, I think Lutz and Parker may have mentioned it as well. Like, the talks really broke down. There was really no way, because you guys got to remember, Houston's still paying half of Parker's salary, and we're paying him $2 million. So, like, he's a $4 million a year player, and that's probably what he's expecting next year for probably a 3 to 4 year contract. And there's just no way where the team could afford that. So they probably got the right calls, and it happened like that.
Yeah. I agree with you. Like, sometimes it's about salary. I mean, there's a business. I mean, especially when you have hard caps, you have to make tough decisions. And this was a tough decision. I mean, well, let's face it, Parker's all over around town. Like, he was a fan favorite. He's on all these billboards. I think he's all over City Park too. Yeah, it just.
Oh, yeah.
But, the cool thing is at least City's doing something.
Yes.
A lot of Cardinal, and I'm sorry to pick on Cardinals here. Like, I absolutely love Cardinals. Like, we bleed red for a reason, right? It's Cardinal blood.
Yep.
But the thing is let's face it, the Cardinals aren't doing anything. Now, here comes Lutz with our first real chance. Remember, our offseason is only a minor trade window with the rest of the world. So this is our first real opportunity since last year, which we kept on saying this every episode. And here we had Parker Kessler trade. We had the Horn. We got Betcher on a loan / option to buy. We have Seti. We have Hartel, JGR. Holy crap. Yeah. I feel like we've replaced at least 4 of our, let's see, Kessler's replacing Parker. Betcher, I really hope plays. I hope we find some way to get him in. We'll talk about that. Definitely Toyer and Hartel. like we have 4 or 5 players that automatically just replaced a lot of our current starters.
I was just looking at my team poster for this year, and I'm like looking at all the different faces that are like, does anyone remember that we got rid of Dyer? Like Dwyer, like he was on our team and he's gone now, and all these new players are there. You know, AZ, Big Sam, gone. Like, and then I'm looking at all these other players, just like, oh my goodness gracious, this team is going to be so different next year, but so exciting. So exciting.
Oh, speaking of exciting, I'm really liking the Simon Betcher guy.
Oh, yeah. I was doubtful on him because he's so young, but it's like, this dude's got some fire in him.
So here's my thought. Okay. So hear me out and tell me if you agree. Okay. So you could almost goal or no goal me on this one.
Sure.
Well, if I had to look at positioning and then finishing, so how I felt Thor was, he is somebody that always seems to get in great position. Like he would be in front of the net on what seemed like would be a sure goal, but then his finishing lacked. So he positioned, but didn't have the finishing ability. Klaus this year just couldn't seem to ever get in position. Like he was just never where he needed to be. But his finishing ability is like star level. Like he can really finish.
DP.
Simon Betcher, I feel like maybe might not have quite the finishing ability. Maybe Thor might be better at positioning. Maybe. They're pretty darn close. But he has both of those.
Yeah.
That's what I've really liked about this guy so far. What have you seen?
Well, the same
thing. Goal or no goal on this?
Oh, definite goal. Yeah, because that's been like we have not been Thor haters. We've been Thor realists. Like we've been saying throughout the season that it's just not there. Like he gets right there, he gets right by the goal, but he just can't put it in. And it's like, when he's getting the ball, he's going to have perfect positioning. He's really good at getting there, but he just can't put it in. Like Betcher, since he's been here, he's had 3 goals, 2-3 goals, and like the set piece goal with the Leuven service was amazing. And then the goal he scored the other night where he just kicked it with his right foot, and it just soared in there. Like that is some excitement that we've been missing. And like I said, when I saw the signing, I thought it was just great. We got a slew guy coming in, like it was just a homegrown, hometown deal. But no, like Lutz knows what he's doing. Like I think real quick, let's go ahead and put to bed that Lutz doesn't care about this team, that Lutz needs to go, that Lutz doesn't know what he's doing. Like I think we can put that to bed right now. I think those conversations need to end. And if you said those things, you should feel bad about yourself. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
but like,
I don't know who's saying that, but yeah.
Well, like in June when the team hadn't won a game since April, and it was getting awful. We saw, Lutz needs to go. We need to. He does clearly. This 5-year plan is over, and it's like, guys, no. Like he is still planning for the future. The press is still working. It's clear we just needed some different players, and I think it comes back. We're a victim of our own success from last year. We did not have to go into the summer transfer window looking for new blood because we were so hot, even though we were in the process of coming down already. Mm-hmm. We just missed that window, and the team's still paying off all that debt. And so because they're paying off all that debt, because the team was succeeding, why would they want to go out and spend extra money? There was no need, and it just bit us in the butt. And now we're being reactive, but this is what you and I have been saying all season, where it's just like, stick with it, see what we're doing, look for the future. You and I were excited about toy shirt coming, and it's just like, yep. Like, I don't know how Marco Reese is going to do, but I am really damn happy with the players we got instead. Like, I'm really happy so far.
Yeah.
Like, Hartl's making a hell of an impact. It's wild.
And let's address the Germans. So there's a lot of criticism. Like, why do we keep getting these German players? Lutz needs to look around the world, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I'm going to counter this. There's a couple things. One, a lot of players, let's face it, it's tough when you move to a different culture. Like, I couldn't imagine if I moved to like India or something like that. Like, I would have culture shock. Like, it's tough when you're moving overseas. Like, people, especially a lot of people in St. Louis, like, we just don't realize how hard that may be. Like, people are actual people. They have actual lives. It's tough when you do this. It's probably easier to recruit from a group of players when you say, hey, we already have, 6 other German players over here. You're going to be able to share the culture. You will have some of the same customs. Like, it's going to feel more comfortable. I think that makes it actually easier to recruit over here. And think about
Yeah.
this. We're not Miami. We're not LA. We're not a New York or something, right? Like, a lot of people want to go to these coastal areas. So we got to do something that makes St. Louis look appealing. And guess what? That might be that we have this German thing. The second point that I'll make, and I'll see what you think about these, but is that you can't know every single player in the world. If Lutz really knows Germany and he really knows these players, I'm okay with that. You can't know every team in the world and you can't recruit equally from everything. And let's face it, Germany is one of the best leagues out there. It's not a bad place to recruit from,
Yeah.
right? What do you think?
Right. Yeah. So I think you're right there. It's when when you think of leagues across the world, you think of the big ones. But the Bundesliga leagues is definitely one of them. And so we're not pulling out guys from the lower tiers of the USFL pyramid. We're getting top tier guys. It just so happens like what you're saying is he knows those leagues, he knows those players, he has the context there. And so far, it's not exactly been bad for us. Also, if you are used to playing on a coastal area, you're probably going to want to stay at the edges of the United States, where it also be easier to get home. Where if you're playing in Germany, you're a landlocked area anyway. You're probably used to having the really bad weather like we have here, so it's not going to be that huge of a culture shock.
And I
And
think we have a
also,
direct flight too
right,
from here to Germany, right? There's a direct flight.
right. It's definitely
That makes
longer though. Definitely longer than flying from like New York or California. But yeah, I mean, we do have direct flights, but it is harder to get there. But man, it's just when you've got some players like Berkey and Leuven already here from those leagues, they can speak to those players and those skill levels. And, you know, if your big players are from an area, you want to bring in more players like them to help them feel more comfortable. When you look at Klaus and Celio, they're both from the same region and they're connecting really well. They're both hurt, so we got to bring in some other players. So I don't mind the fact that we've got a bunch of Germans. It's a fun meme to say here come the Germans. Like it's fun right now, but they're winning and they're doing well. So, I don't think we had much of a team image last year, and I think we're building one now. Which okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
If these other people that are saying what's wrong with the team being German, if you know a certain player from another league, let Lutz know and maybe he'll find him. Like I think the guy knows what he's doing. So trust in the plan is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I got some stats here for you. So Betcher, 3 matches, 2 goals, FOTMAP rating of 7.42 in Leagues Cup. Seti, 3 matches, 2 goals, 7.4 rating. Hartel, 3 matches, 2 goals, 7.84 rating. And this is also including our game, which we didn't do quite as well 2 games ago. But man, that's pretty good ratings. Now I know there's limitation to the FOTMAL ratings, but still it gives
Yeah.
you a good enough. The other thing is scoring. Like holy crap, we're actually scoring.
Yes.
Like these guys have made a huge difference. So between like Betcher, Seti, and Hartel, what have you noticed with these guys? Like, because we really haven't touched on Toyer and Hartel much.
I think the attack looks stronger. They're actually passing in the final third. They're making those connections. They're getting more shots off. They seem to be getting open better. Doesn't seem like the ball is just dying. I think that was our big complaint early in the season, where when we had to have AC out there, with Klaus on one side and Kojima, it's like these guys were not connecting. They were not. It didn't seem smooth. One thing I noticed with CT and Hartle and Leuven out there and Besser now, it's almost reminiscent looking at what Miami is doing, where those guys are just connecting. Those guys just know where each other are going to be. And it doesn't seem as effortful as it has in the past. Like, it's just easy for these guys to connect right now. And that's what I'm seeing. It's more of that seamless soccer. It's the most beautiful, what they call it, the beautiful game. And it's looking like that again. It doesn't look like a bunch of guys playing ping pong out there. It looks like they actually know what they're doing. What about you?
Yeah, the thing that's really cool is that it's not just a unilateral attack. So I felt like before this, we basically had an attack that looked the same every single time. It felt like they always just tried to bring it up the wings, oftentimes with like Totland, for instance, or Reed more recently. And we'd try to bring it up, and then we would try to then cross into the box, and then that was it. Now I feel like it's a little bit more chaotic for the opposing defense. Like, yeah, we would still do some of those things, but guess what? Sometimes you would see this. We'll actually bring it up towards the middle. We'll actually try to make stuff happen through the middle of the midfield. Occasionally, right. It's not as often as you'd expect because it's very congested in the midfield, right? The center midfield. But we would definitely make certain plays like this. Hartel, like you could tell, like he's making these really amazing pass ideas. And I say ideas for a reason. Like things that we just wouldn't have seen before. And I said ideas because unfortunately, a lot of his passes just didn't really have pace on it. And then oftentimes it would go to the opposing players. Like if you rewatch this past game, we saw that multiple times where you're like, okay, I love the idea of what he was trying to do. It's just his execution wasn't there. Now I'm giving him a little bit of pass because he's new to our team. He's also like on a different league schedule because this would normally be the off season right now and kind of starting the preseason. So maybe he just needs a little bit more fitness and getting in shape. So I'm going to give him a little bit of pass on this. Just for stream of consciousness, the other thing I'll kind of mention is what I'm really loving is his whole progression. It's sort of like this Leuven, Hartel, Tutoyer / Fetcher kind of thing. Because now Leuven's actually getting to play pretty much the role that he loves to play. Kind of the center midfielder / defensive midfielder kind of role. Sending it to Hartel as more of kind of like this attacking midfielder / winger than to Toyer / Betcher. Like this progression is actually really cool and really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
that too.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing. It's fun to watch, you know? So I feel like earlier in this season, like we had, it wasn't swagger, but it was almost like you didn't expect this team to lose. You expected them to do something. And it's like the doldrums were all that happened. You guys, Bradley Carnell losing his job, everyone got hurt. It's just like, it's just like, okay, we got to watch again on Saturday. We got to watch again. And now it's like, oh my God, this team is exciting again. And everyone has to remember, we've got a lot of our injured players. They're going to be coming back August and September, and Steelers are back next year. But like we got Ostrak and Klaus that are getting healthy and getting ready to come back, that they will be back this year. And we get to figure out where we're going to slot them in. And it's just like, it's going to be good. Ostrak he's my guy. And yeah. Everyone's like, you're just being close. Well, guess what? He's still one of our DPs. So like, let's see what he does now with some very strong co-captains out. Let's see what this guy, how much he can really cook. Because he cooked last year and then it fell off. And he hasn't really been able to this year. But think about that Kansas City match. Think about the San Jose match. Like the things we're able to do before. Now we have a much stronger team to do that. And it's going to be wild.
All I hope, though, is I'm kind of hoping we find a way to get both Thatcher and Klaus out there. I don't know if we need to go to 4-4-2, where the top two is CT along with Klaus. And then you have, like, left to right, Hartel, Leuven, Durkin, and then Toyer. I don't know if that would necessarily work as well based on, like, the players, but it's unfortunate because some of our favorite players are going to have to take a bench.
Yeah.
Like maybe
good problem to have.
Klaus doesn't come back. If Klaus doesn't come back, maybe he's benched. Unfortunately, where does Allen play? He doesn't have a spot, Oh, wow. Ciolito, he comes back. Obviously, you want him on the field because he was our best player before he got hurt. I don't know what we do, Even if we do the 4-2-3-1, so the top four, I guess you could put Klaus there, maybe you put Betcher. I know he plays mostly
Right.
a striker kind of role, but maybe he plays the right wing, Hartel left wing, Toyer in the middle, but then there's no room for Halm except for a sub. But honestly, that's okay. Whoever the best player is, put him out there. This is a good problem. Like you said, it's a good problem to have.
Yes. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So obviously there's a few other players that we want to mention before we get done tonight. So JGR, obviously I was kind of excited about because he's a young guy. Hopefully he would learn from Parker, Nilsson, and those guys.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were thinking.
We really haven't seen him much. Like he's basically been in mop-up minutes.
Yeah.
Do you have much of a feeling on him? I'm kind of, I don't know yet.
Right.
Like,
Now,
I haven't really seen him in the Heat battle.
I was in kind of like the same boat where we paid a lot of money to get him, and we know that we're going to be having him for a couple of seasons at least. And, you know, it's like, is he going to make a big impact? And you were pretty keyed on. You're like, probably not. He's going to have to learn because CB is a position that young players don't really thrive in. It takes a little bit to get stronger and older and more grizzled. And luckily, he hasn't had to play all that much. And so hopefully when Nilsson comes back, that's even more he can develop even more. So unfortunately, I'm kind of like you where we don't really have much thoughts on him because I haven't really seen him.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we're just going to have to wait and see what he ends up turning out to. And it might not even be the season, to be honest.
Right.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Now, I have to mention Luck because we had the game where he was like a brick wall, but then his game before that, he was about as porous as you could get.
Right. He was Lunt. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Which one was the true version of?
I don't know. We've seen him now so the guy that we saw was like the USL goalie of the year, which is what he won at one point a couple of seasons ago. And he did that against Juarez. He did it against one of the stiffest competitions that we're going to have. And he did that against them. He was so good. And I'm hoping that he's just waiting to get his mojo. Like I don't know, man. I don't want to get too hyped on him because we have a guy there that is really good. But like, I don't know. I think you and I were joking that Lunt seemed to be more responsive during penalty kicks. Now he got his hand on 2 balls. They went through, but I mean, he was almost there while Berkey that's not his forte. You know, when you want a drag car, you don't worry about turning. You just go straight and go fast. You know, Berkey's really good at doing the blocks and moving around, being Spider-Man, but just for some reason, penalty kicks just ain't it. And Lunt got his hands on one, and Lunt looked really good in PKs. He looked really good all around. So, yeah, and he got man of the match for that game. He deserved it, even though we lost. So, like that one match, superstar. You know, he was great. And I think that's what we'll say for now is that one match, he was great. I'm not worrying about the other stuff right now.
Yeah, I really hope this is who he is.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, let's face it, players sometimes need rest. Like you do bring up your backup, game or 2 a year anyways. And, things happen. Berkey obviously had some of his back issues. So you want somebody who's very capable. So I really hope this is who he is. And yeah, like he actually did pretty decent with these PKs. I was like, okay, not bad. Unfortunately, you'll never do this, but obviously if Berkey is starting the game, like you're not going to pull him at the last minute just to bring Lutt in for the PKs, because that's kind of insult to your starting goalie. But yeah, Berkey man, as good as he is, he's pretty much opposite when it comes to PKs. People don't hate me, but it's just simply true. Let's be honest.
We're going to be in this Parker position with Berkey next season. So like, as long as we need to make sure Lunt is doing really well by then, because if Berkey comes back, we're probably going to require him to sign like a hometown discount or something, because he's going to be an older goalkeeper. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we have to start bracing for the fact that we're not going to have Berkey in 2025 or 2025-26 season. He's just not going to be here. So like, if we can see more of Lunt and get him in a better position, Lunt's really young. Let's ride it. Let's ride Lunt and Oliveras. Like, I think we just have to get used to not having Roman Berkey on our team after next year. And we can start looking at being the guy. But it's just going to happen. That's sports, guys. The players don't stick around forever, and especially these. I mean, Berkey's already having back issues. Like, maybe it's going to happen 2 seasons from now. He's going to continue. So, yeah.
Yes. So I think I have one last thing for you, Steve, is this whole Blome issue.
Oh boy.
Obviously last year I was like, okay, this guy is doing great. He was kind of our fixture for our defensive midfielder. And then more and more time passed, and more we realized that, yeah, sometimes he could make great defensive moves, but he would cough up the ball, oftentimes in very dangerous areas like our own defensive back midfield, where you, like the last place you want to give up the ball. And it became very apparent that he was not the person that we expected. So if people don't remember or weren't watching, essentially it appeared that he was upset because he wasn't being played. And then when the penalty kicks happened 2 games ago, he basically refused to go out with his teammates on the field to support him, and he ended up getting suspended. That's a very quick version of that. What do you think about this? Do you think, like, what would you do if you were kind of in like Lute's position? Would you try to get rid of this guy? Do you know,
right,
just too quick to pull the trigger, so to speak? Like, what are you thinking?
I think they're handling it as well as they can. We all saw Blome last season do really well. Started off the season great. He earned the spot on the South African national team. And it seems like when he came back, he got hurt during that time, I think. It seems like he's been on a downward trend ever since. And he's not been earning his minutes. And yeah, you can tell he's upset that all these new players are coming in and taking those minutes. The couple games that he has started, he's been awful. He's been awful. And so he throws a hissy fit at the end of the Juarez game. It doesn't go out with his team for PKs. Apparently, Hackworth told him to get out there. He said something, and Hackworth told him just to go in the locker room or something. He just pouted. And so, yeah, they suspended him. One thing that I'll say that Hack did state is that players that break our team rules, they're always welcome back. And I felt at the time, and I still do, that he was kind of shouting out the difference between him and Bradley Carnell, where Carnell had issues with Sam, and Sam was just gone. He just suspended Sam. And then think back when Lutz did the press conference after firing Carnell. Lutz seemed confused as to why Sam was suspended. And then now he's back, and now he's gone. He made that comment. He's back, he's gone, he's back, and now he's back. We're like, Hackworth was like, dude made a mistake. If he learns from it, he's back, and here everything is fine. So let's see when he comes back. Let's see if he's with the team on Tuesday. If he's not with the team on Tuesday in California, something more severe is happening. So that's my take. What about your take?
I don't think I could have said it better, to be honest. Literally everything you just said. I just, he's going to be a good guy to come off the bench for us. I mean, that's just where he is skill-wise, and I'm okay with that. Like, we're winning a game and you need some defense. I'm mostly okay with him coming out. Just is what it is,
right. I was looking at my team posters. I got the one from last season, and I got the one from this season. And Blome is very prominently displayed on both. So the team still has faith in his skills. He's not the same player he was at the beginning of the season, so he's not going to have a starting role. Is he going to be okay with that? Is he going to take the approach of some of the other players we've seen leave this team where they are not okay with that change in role? And it's up to him as a player. And the team's made it very clear, these are our expectations for you. Is he going to be able to live up to those expectations, or is he going to falter? And I guess that's completely up to him. It's a shame to see it happen.
Yeah. And this is where I hope the changing locker room helps change his culture. Because like what you kind of alluded to, whether it was Bradley Carnell's fault or not, the locker room just did not seem to have the stability that it needed to have, especially when Sam was there. And I don't know if AZ was an issue or not. I just know that AZ was friends with Sam. I haven't heard anything specifically, but it does make you wonder. And just with this whole Bloom thing, I really hope with this changing of the guard, so to speak, that a new mentality blooms. And I hope Hartel, Toyer, like some of these really good players step up and say, hey guys, if you guys ever want to be taken seriously as a footballer, you need to do this. Because literally, like these guys were in the best league, one of the best leagues in the world, in Germany.
Right.
Like, come on, like these guys know what they're talking about. Hopefully they can use that prestige, I guess you could say, to help guide some of these players.
Yeah.
But we'll see, man. We'll see. I am excited for this Club America game.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, I think it's LA because they're the home team.
Yep.
And Club America is going to bring out a lot of fans.
Oh, yeah.
So this is going to be a pretty intense game. You're going to go against one of the best teams in North America with away game, which is always a disadvantage. This is going to be interesting. But, I have think now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in Carson. And I looked at the team we put out against them last season, and the team we're putting out now, not the same. So, like, they put out their best team. We put out our best team. They beat us 4-0. But I think it's going to be a different environment. Yeah. With the Mexican teams getting to choose where they play, since they have to play in America, we're not having any matches in Mexico. Like, they get to choose where they are. They're the home team. They want to play where there's clearly going to be a large contingent of fans. And so I think with our team wanting to show they're taking this competition seriously, I'd be interested to see the players we put out there. It's going to be, I think they're going to put out a strong team, because to make it to the next round shows just how seriously this team is taking it and the quality of our players.
So I just checked. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Kansas City got knocked out. Kansas City got knocked out. Yeah, we're all Columbus fans now. Yeah, woo, Kansas City got knocked out. So, like, if we're already farther than they are. So, great.
So the thing is, I was looking, because one of the things that's going to be tough is that we just played on Friday.
Yeah.
Well, 4 days later, we're playing on a Tuesday. But fortunately, at least they had to play as well. So they played on Friday as well.
Yep.
So, both teams are going to be on short rest. You never know what's going to happen, to be honest, when players are somewhat tired. Maybe initially, like in the first half, maybe players are going to play normal. But I guarantee you we're going to start to see players get fatigued, tired out in the second half sooner than it would have been otherwise.
I think I'm going to do a ref report for this match, because I think the Liga MX teams are chippy. They are a chippy team. They play very physical. And I think as the players get tired, like you're saying, I think we're going to see more of those physical plays. We're going to see Durkin dragging players down. We may see a horse collar.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting to see if they report who the ref is going to be, how that ref calls matches, and if they call a physical match, and if they'll be able to stick to it. Because, with both teams playing on short rest, this could get ugly. However, I think last year, I think St. Louis was still probably starstruck and didn't know how to take these matches, didn't know how to take the amount of fans in St. Louis, which, by the way, I told my kids that, like, last year, City Park was basically ketchup and mustard with all of the yellow from Club America and the mix with the red. Like, that's how much these fans traveled. And I hope the team was just like, they just didn't know how to manage that, and they got the yips. Because even Berkey had like a 4.2 rating or something. Like, Berkey had a really low rating as well in that game. So, like, nobody played well. And I think we're a year older. We're more grizzled. We've got a giant chip on our shoulder from how we've done this season. So let's go into Carson and really put it on them. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I look forward to this game. Hopefully we come out with a decisive win. Although I'll take just any old win. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, 2-1's fine.
Yeah, I'll suffer with the 2-1 win instead of like a 5-1 win. Whatever it takes.
Right. Let's go.
Well, I've enjoyed talking here with you today. Hopefully anybody listening, if you ever do want to reach out to us, Steve can give you the socials, ways to contact us. If you have any ideas, we're always willing to listen. Or if you want to shout out, Steve, where can they reach us?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to do that now is we have a website. It's brbfancast.weebly.com. We have right on the very bottom of that homepage, you have a contact. You can email us and we'll be able to get right back to you. We're on Twitter at BRB Fancast. We're on Facebook. Maze Zipper is who I am on Facebook. AJ's on there as AJ BRB Fancast. I'm also on there as BRB Fancast Steve. I'm not so active on there. I post very often. We technically have Instagram. We just got to do more with it, but you can reach us there as well. But all the socials is where we are. Reach out to us. We've got a couple of the supporters groups interviews in the can. If you are a supporter group or just a supporter and you want to talk to us, a fan, we can interview fans too, guys. We're all supporters. Reach out to us and we want to talk to you. Like I showed, it gets lonely in here. We need more air. So like, let us talk to you and we'll be more than happy to. So like, that's it, guys. You'll see us around town wearing the weird stuff. So
Nice.
all
Well,
right.
we'll see you next time. Catch you then.
All right. For City.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun.